Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with another layout for the Ink Road. I'm doing a couple of guest layouts using some of the stamps from there, and this layout is going to focus on these awesome and amazing and super adorable cat face stamps. And when I saw these, I thought, those really aren't my style. How am I going to use those? So I challenged myself to use them, and my friend from Hip Kit Club, Zinia, Amoiridou, I hope I'm saying her name right, she designed these, and this layout winds up being one of my favorite layouts. This is our cat, Michael Myers, and I'll tell you about him and his name as this layout goes. But I printed out the smaller picture first and then decided I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. And so I printed out another copy of it and then just decided to use both of them on this page. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go crazy and make a bunch of cute cat faces. I'm going to use a couple of the faces that are already made, and then I'm just going to kind of mix and match, because you've got the shapes of the head, you've got different eyes, you've got the whiskers, the noses, the mouths, and then there's sunglasses, there are bow ties and mustaches. I mean, it's just the cutest thing ever. So I challenged myself to do this, and it was out of my comfort zone, and the more I made these cat faces, the more fun I had. These stamps are just super fun. So I'm just going to create some faces here on some white cardstock, and I haven't used any gesso or anything like that, and I'm using some archival ink here. And so when I add anything wet to it or anything like that, the ink is going to stay put and it's not going to run or bleed. So Michael Myers is our cat, and I can't believe I've not really scrapped a layout about him or her, because we really don't know if it's a boy or a girl. When we moved into our house in 2009, we did not have any pets. We just had our kids. And we lived here a couple months, and every time I would look out the kitchen window, there was this cat, and he would be sitting in the grass as still as a statue, and he would just be staring in at me from outside and through the window. And I was like, there's a stray cat in the yard. He's staring at me. He's creepy. So then I would get busy and go to another room, and I would look out the window in that room, and that cat would be outside of that window staring in again. So it was like he was moving around the yard, and whatever window I looked out of, he was staring in at me. I was like, this cat is a stalker. He's giving me the creeps. So we kept doing this for a while. And I said, this cat, because from far away, all I could see was his black ears and the black outline of his face, and then this white, super white face. I was like, he reminds me of Michael Myers from Halloween. It just, I don't know, that's what he reminded me of, because he was kind of scary looking. So time went on, and he got closer and closer and closer, and he eventually just started coming up on our patio. And I was kind of sketchy acting at first, and then he kind of just started getting closer and closer, and we started to feed him, which, you know, probably we shouldn't have done if we didn't really want a cat in the first place. But yeah, he's been hanging around since 2009, so I don't know where he came from. I don't know if he belonged to anybody, but he continuously stays at our house. He does not come inside, but he is the greatest guard cat ever. He kills all kinds of critters. You name it, he's killed it. He's great at catching mice, lizards, squirrels, birds, you name it. And he beats up other cats that are not nice that come into our yard. And he's friendly with nice, sweet cats that come into our yard. So he's just kind of become our pet, and we love him, and we just call him Michael Myers. And, you know, he doesn't get super close. We don't really hold and cuddle this cat. But he will nuzzle up against your leg, and he likes to be a part of our family pool parties, and he's always there. But we honestly still don't know if it's a boy or girl. I'm not an expert on cats, but yeah, we don't know. We don't know, and we don't really care. So, but it's just Michael Myers, and that's his name, and so I'm finally gonna make a layout about him or her. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to use my Prima oil pastels to color in some of these cats, and I wanted to try to keep them as, you know, realistic colors here. So I'm using some golden yellows and some browns and some grays, and I'm just doing this in a quick, messy type of way. I'm just scribbling onto the cat and then using my finger to smudge. You can still see a lot of the texture of the cardstock. through the color, and I'm trying to make, you know, some parts around the ears darker and then some areas lighter. And this is super easy to do. And I'm going to wind up cutting these out, and so if I smudge outside the lines, it's not a big deal. I'm using a tiny bit of water on that brush just to smudge a little bit of the color in certain areas, because it looks different when you smudge it with water versus when you smudge it dry. So I was just kind of playing around here. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with these cat faces, but I've got them colored in. I did add a little bit of pink to the inside of the ears. And now I'm going to take some of my Shimmers liquid paints and just use a tiny bit of it and go around some of the glasses just to give those glasses some color. I'm going to use some blue and some pink and some aquas. But I think these faces are so cute, especially the ones with the glasses. And some of them look serious and some of them look like they're smiling. This was just a lot of fun to do. Yeah, and back to the cat. Several people have looked for us and they're like, this is a boy. And then other people have said, no, this is a girl. I'm not an expert on cats and their private parts, so yeah, I figured if it was a boy, I would see certain parts, and I don't, but I'm guessing whoever had this cat before he ran away or before he adopted himself to us must have had him or her fixed, because if it's a she's never been pregnant, and we never find any little kitties laying around, so I don't think he's fathered any cats, so maybe he's been fixed. I'm not sure, but we love this cat no matter what it is, so yeah. Anyway, there's me fussy cutting out a face, and I took some time and fussy cut out all those little faces, or most of them, and I just kind of had the idea of kind of stacking the pictures like this, kind of at an angle, and then just scattering all those little cat heads around the pictures. And when I'm making a layout like this, you know, I don't have a collection in mind. I just want to start from scratch and kind of make my own background. I'm using some of the Shimmers acrytones here. I'm using the blue and the green, and I'm just going to blend these together. And this layout, you guys, is totally different than my typical layouts. This doesn't even look like a layout that I put together, I think, in the end. It's so different, and I wanted something different. So I'm gonna just start with this teal aqua color paint. And I don't even know what made me choose this color scheme. I really don't. And I'm just using my palette knife to smudge some color on there. And if you remember, the pictures are going to go in the center, so a lot of this is going to be kind of covered up. And I wanted something that would contrast against all those neutral colors of the cats, because I've got some grays, some browns, some reddish brown, and a little bit of I used a black Prima pastel, but it wound up looking kind of gray when I smudged it around. So they're all neutral colors, you know, they're not my typical bright pinks and yellows and bright blues, and so I thought I would bring in some blue to the background. So I'm going to use the paint. I'm going to use some liquids there to spray and smudge a little bit and splatter around, and it's going to wind up contrasting really nicely with all of those neutrals in the cats. At this point, I thought, I don't even like this. I don't like how this is going. But once I let it dry and I put the pictures on top of it and start to bring in the cats, I like the way it looks. It's all dry now, and I think it really makes the pictures pop. But I wanted to do something white on top of the aqua paint, so I'm going to just use this template, circle template that I have here, and trace around it with a white pen, and then do some machine stitching. And I did that right off camera. I just went around it several times, straight stitch with some white thread, and it just gave it a little bit of texture and interest and just something else on the background. And it's going to sort of, you know, house the photos, and it's going to give me sort of a line to place all those cat faces on. So I'm going to add just a little bit of tissue paper, because I don't think I wind up using any pattern paper at all. It's mainly just the background and the cats. And I'm going to raise my pictures up and use some foam adhesive. And I love this picture of the cat. I think it's a very pretty picture, and this is actually from 2012. His his black parts are now kind of gray, and he's a little bit bigger, but yeah, he can still open up a can on a mean animal that comes into our yard. So he's sort of like our protector. So anyway, I'm going to scatter all these little cat faces around, and I like how that looks. This is, like I said, it's totally different than anything that I've ever made. And as I was making this, I was like, this is so different. Do I like this? Do I not like it? And I think I do like it. The more I played around with those little cat faces, the more I really love how it looked. And I'm using some light gray thread there. And this is very subtle. You can just kind of barely see it from under the pictures. It just adds a little bit of something to the background. But I like how the paint looks in the background. You know, like I said, a lot of it got covered up, but it gives some separation between the white background and all the white in the pictures, because there's a lot of white, bright light going on in there, and it just sort of gives a barrier of color between the two. So I'm going to stick all these little cat faces down. I guess I should glue the pictures down. That would probably be good, yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. And I like how the photos are kind of tilted. They're not perfectly straight. And I like how they overlap. So I'm going to use this flare button. This is from October Afternoon Daily Flash. I have quite a bit of those. And this is a very old, I mean probably 5 or 6 years old, set of dark gray Prima alpha stickers from, I don't even remember where I got these. I think from a kit of some sort. And I like the way they look, the colors, like dark gray, and I like the font. It's like a typewriter font. And I'm just going to name this layout Michael Myers because his name is very unique, and I like how it just fits right there underneath the pictures. And I'm going to put the flare right here on top of the pictures, and it's gray and white, perfect match, and it's going to point down, and I'm going to add a lot of journaling, more journaling than I normally do, because I wanted to kind of tell the story of how we met Michael and how he became our little pet, and how he got his name. But I do need to glue these Prima stickers down because they're very old and they were not wanting to stick on top of that paint. So I originally was going to hand write my journaling, which I do most of the time. My first pen just decided to not write when I started to use it, chunked it in the trash, and so then I picked up my Pitt pen, and it just, I don't know, I just didn't like the way it was looking. So I went and printed my journaling on my printer. I just typed it up in Word, printed it out on some printer paper, and now I'm going to cut and make little sentence strips. And so I'm going to have to kind of cut and paste here because I want the sentence strips to kind of nuzzle in there around the name or the title. So this takes me a little bit of time, but it's basically cutting and pasting and making sure I attach the right sentence in the right order. So I got all that done and I glued that down, and I love how that looks. I love the typed journaling. This is some gold shimmers. It's called Glorious Day, and when it dries it's going to be a perfect match to the golden yellow that I used on some of those cats. I'm going to add the date, and I believe that's pretty much all I do. Very minimal stuff on this layout, but I love how simple it is, but yet it's very colorful and just different for me. I didn't use any pink. It's definitely different, but I love how it turned out. Those stamps were so fun to play with. So if you're a cat fan or you have a cat, I highly recommend this stamp set from the Ink Road because it is adorable. It would look cute on some cards. Could do a lot with it. So let me know if you have any questions. Make sure you check out the Ink Road. She's got a ton of awesome stamps and other products. The link is down below. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great week.